What's up, everybody? Welcome to Barely News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Bear. It's Monday, May 28th, 2018. Happy Memorial Day. Let's get started. Today on the show, check this out. This happened in Paris, France. So this guy named Mamadou Gassama, from Mali, sees this kid dangling from the balcony for some reason, and he sprang into action, climbing up the building while being cheered on by the crowd below. Look at this guy go. Listen to the crowd.
Ah là là, regardez, regardez.
This is one of those moments that make you proud to be a human. You didn't save anybody, but this guy did, and that makes you feel good. Not even Marvel's made an emotional shot like this. Well, not since they almost killed Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3.
It's hard to believe what's happening. The brutality of it.
This could be a tragic day for the people of New York. It could be the end of Spider-Man. The end of Spider-Man.
So because of his daring do's, Gassama got to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron. Macron? Or as I like to call him, the Cougar Hunter. At the meeting, Macron awarded Gassama a Medal of Courage. He also promised to make him a naturalized citizen and offered him work in the fire service. Talking about his 4-story climb, Gassama said, "I just didn't have time to think. I ran across the road to go and save him. I just climbed up and thank God. God helped me. The more I climbed, the more I had the courage to climb up higher. That's it." The kid's parents apparently weren't home when he decided to dangle off the balcony. But don't worry, everything's alright because a good Samaritan parkoured up the building and saved the child's life. It's a good thing we can count on that to happen every day. Who needs good parenting when you can have a Malayan immigrant do the job for you? And at a fraction of the cost. This next story was the biggest one over the weekend. Nearly 1,500 immigrant children are unaccounted for by the US government's Department of Health and Human Services. So when children try to enter the country illegally, whether they're with parents or not, first they're placed in detention centers, and then they're moved into the homes of vetted families. I've looked around and no one's saying what the criteria for a vetted family is, and that may be due in part to the Department of Health and Human Services being sued for these practices right now. This has been going on at least since 2014 when these pictures were taken, so the Democrats and Republicans are trying to shift the blame back and forth on this, but the fact is we have these ridiculous policies because of both the Democrats and the Republicans, because neither one of them have fixed this problem. President Trump and Jeff Sessions have said that they're going to be harder on immigration, so that's why the numbers might be a bit higher right now. To make matters worse, a report was released in 2016 that said that the department had failed to keep minors away from human traffickers and other abuses. So 1,500 kids are now missing because the department seems to have no idea what they're doing. And they may have actually given kids to human traffickers. The government says they don't have to legally account for the children, but they are the ones who are taking the children away from their parents. The US government says they split up the children from the parents because the parents are committing a crime, coming into the country illegally. The government's also said that some of the adult sponsors are related to the children, and also that it's unknown how many children have dropped off the grid to avoid deportation. The Department of Health and Human Services says that about 85% of the sponsors are either parents or close relatives of the children, but they didn't release any data to back that claim up. So what should America do? Obviously we should take care of the children that are intercepted at the border, because we're the ones intercepting them at the border. But should we offer them all citizenship? The pure-hearted among us will say, yeah, duh. The pragmatic among us will point out how impractical and dangerous it is to accept a near unlimited amount of immigrants in a short time span. Also, if we're gonna let anyone come into the country illegally, what do we say to the immigrants who waited through the long and ridiculous process for years? No matter what America does, nothing will fix the root of the problem, which is the reason so many people from Mexico and Central America want to immigrate to America is because of the cartels and the corruption in their own countries. The cartels pay off the police, who then let the cartels sell drugs and traffic humans. This has created a crazy dangerous environment where laws are usurped by money. So families try to escape this by coming to America, but the problem will not stop until Mexico and Central America deal with the cartels and the corruption in their countries. Now on to Solo, a Star Wars story, which is the Star Wars movie with the worst title. This weekend, Solo premiered and made an estimated $101 million. This may sound great, but Solo had an estimated budget of $250 million. This makes Solo the Star Wars movie with the weakest opening since 2002's Attack of the Clones.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere.
In comparison, in the same amount of time, The Last Jedi opened at $220 million, Rogue One opened to $155 million, and The Force Awakens opened at $248 million. So is the public finally getting tired of Star Wars? Back when Disney announced that they were releasing 5 Star Wars movies in about 5 years, many people claimed that this would kill the magic of Star Wars. I'm not sure why Disney didn't listen to those concerns, but it's probably because of that sticky icky green shit. Money. Oh, greed, you avarice bitch. In other movie news, Netflix, the only media company to not report its ratings, is now the highest valued media company in the world. It's topping even Disney, which is making every successful franchise available right now. Look at that 16-year growth. Have you ever seen a whole company getting an erection? Because that's a whole company getting an erection. As stated earlier, Netflix doesn't report its ratings, like literally every other media company. This has led industry professionals to question whether Netflix is actually worth more than Disney or other media giants like Comcast. All this stock shit is so shady. Companies are valued based on crazy rich guy criterias, so when you try to compare two companies' values, you'll end up coming up with more questions than answers. Anyway, Netflix stock is up at about $351 today, so if you've ever wanted to buy one share of Netflix at about $350, act fast! Buy high, sell low, embezzle everything, jump off a bridge. So the creators of Sesame Street are suing the creators of a new Melissa McCarthy movie called The Happytime Murders.
For 50 cents, I'll suck your d***.
Well, it's a great price. It almost makes me wish I had a d*** for you to suck.
Oh, I'll take that as a yes.
Apparently the film features puppets in very adult situations like gambling and murder and sex and drugs.
That is good shit. Well, me. Maybe.
Sort of like the wildly successful Broadway musical Avenue Q, the creators of Sesame Street are suing the creators of the Happytime Murders because of their marketing slogan, which is currently, "No Sesame, all Street." Interestingly, Brian Henson will be directing the movie. Brian Henson is the son of the late Muppet Show creator, Jim Henson, who also helped develop Sesame Street. I hadn't really heard about this movie before the lawsuit, and honestly, without this lawsuit, it probably just would have been marketed as another Melissa McCarthy movie. But because Sesame Street is suing, it's causing everyone to talk about this. This will most definitely help the Happytime Murders in the long run, whether they change the marketing slogan or not. So, if you ever want to see a Muppet ejaculating...
Is that what I think it is?
Here I go, here I go, here I go, here I go, here I go.
Hurry on down to the Happytime Murders in theaters August 17th, 2018. I don't know what it is, but people seem to be freaking out on airplanes more than ever. It feels like every other day there's a story about someone starting shit on an airplane. Maybe it's because going through airport security, breathing the same recycled air for hours on end, and being crammed as close as the FAA will legally allow next to your seat neighbor will drive you insane. Oh no! Anyway, on May 20th, a man punched a deaf woman who's 5 months pregnant and her service dog. On May 25th, a man started a fight with a flight attendant who cut him off for being too drunk. And on May 27th, a woman was dragged off an airplane for shouting at the other passengers and the crew. Apparently she was singing and chanting so loudly that children began to cry. I guess it's too much to expect grown adults to act civil in public. I mean, come on. Airplane travel sucks in every component for everyone. Can't we just band together and all agree to be chill and just wait it out and not start fight 30,000 feet in the air? Is that really too much to ask? In other fucked up air travel news, 2 flight school instructors are accused of planning to deport a flight student. So this happened in North Carolina, and the names are fantastic in this story. Jonathan McConkey and his assistant, Kelsey Hoser, are accused of attempting to carry out this kidnapping. McConkey and Hoser apparently told their student, Tianshu Shi, that they were sending him back to China. The next morning after telling him this, McConkey and Hoser showed up at Shi's house, and they battered him and threatened him with physical violence and said that you're going with or without your luggage. So there's an audio recording of the altercation, and you can hear a woman's voice, supposedly Hoser, saying, "Speak English, please. Can you speak English? If you cannot speak English, you are not going to be able to stay here." Later, a man's voice, supposedly McConkey, can be heard saying,
"And the United States government needs you out of this country right now. You understand?"
She believes that McConkey and Hoser attempted to kidnap him because of his English. She says, "I can't speak English well in life, but I can speak English well with air traffic control." Luckily, she was able to call his brother, and his brother was able to call police. And luckily, the police were able to intervene before McConkey and Hoser were able to get Shi back to China. Commenting on how grateful she was to the police, she said, "The police officer is the best American." I hope we can do something for Shi, to remind him that not all Americans are trash. Maybe we can hook him up with free housing for a bit.
I thank you for our today. Now you bow.
So this next one is really weird. It's really something that could only happen in Portland. Organizers set up something called Reparations Happy Hour. This event was funded by white people, and the organizers invited black, brown, and indigenous peoples to a bar where everyone received a $10 bill. White people were asked not to attend. I'm not really sure why this liberal organization seems to want segregation back, but maybe I'm the crazy one. One organizer, Cameron Whitten, said that the event made attendees feel as if their pain was valued and understood. Though, I feel like this would have meant more if it came from an attendee and not the organizer. The event was organized to draw attention to reparations, and also to organize and discuss public policy and action. So reparations is the idea of paying money to people who were wronged. So long as the money is actually going to the people that were wronged, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't like the idea of World War II and slavery reparations. These are scams that get people to pay for things that they never did. People can't be expected to pay for atrocities that they took no part in. History is one long cycle of one group of people murdering and raping another group of people. Every single race and nation has been trampled on at least once in their history. If reparations actually go to the people that were actually hurt, that's a great thing. But if the money goes to those people's ancestors, then it's not really reparations. The people who did the harm are not the ones healing, and the people who were harmed are not the ones who are benefiting. The simple truth at the core is this: we as humanity cannot come together and heal if we're always focused on the past and what we've done to each other. The current generation in Germany has nothing to do with what happened in World War II, and many of what people would consider to be white Americans, particularly those who moved here in the late 1800s and early 1900s, didn't own slaves. Well, not slaves. The Irish were heavily persecuted when they first got to America, but now some consider them to be the oppressors. This isn't right, and we'll never move forward if we can't forgive each other and start on a common ground. There's no joke there. Alright, that's the end of today's show. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, click the thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.